This is the most successful racing motorcycle in American history. It won for almost 40 years. No lights, no front brake, and a rider hanging it sideways at over 100 miles per hour. This is the Harley Davidson XR750. At its heart is a compact 45-degree V-twin. But this bike almost never existed. It was born out of desperation, a rushed answer to a rule change that threatened to end Harley's dominance forever. The first version was a disaster. It overheated, it broke, and it lost. Harley's proudest racing name was suddenly on the ropes. And then, in one crucial year, everything changed. A single decision transformed a failing race bike into a legend. It would go on to win 28 Grand National Championships, define American dirt track racing, and even become the machine of Evel Knievel himself. This is the story of how a rushed, desperate machine became America's greatest racing motorcycle, and stayed on top for longer than almost any race bike in history. To understand the XR750, start with the bike it replaced. The Harley KR750, a flathead, side valve racer that dominated American dirt track through the 1950s and 60s. For years, it was almost unbeatable. But the KR won partly because of the rules. American racing let Harley's 750 cubic centimeter side valve engine compete against smaller 500 cubic centimeter overhead valve machines. It was a balance that quietly favored Harley for years. The British hated it. Triumph and BSA had modern overhead valve engines, held back by that displacement rule. They pushed hard for the rules to change. And in 1969, the American racing authorities finally gave in. The new rule was simple and brutal for Harley. From now on, all engines could be 750 cubic centimeters, side valve or overhead valve. Overnight, Harley's old flathead advantage vanished. The KR was suddenly obsolete. Now, the modern British 750 twins could race Harley on equal terms. And against them, the ancient KR flathead didn't stand a chance. Harley's decades of dirt track dominance were about to end. They needed a new weapon, fast. Harley had been working on an overhead valve replacement, but they lacked the money to develop it properly. This was the era of AMF ownership, and budgets were tight. They had to improvise, using what they already had. Leading the charge was Harley's racing boss, Dick O'Brien. His team's solution was pragmatic. Take Harley's existing Sportster street engine and turn it into a race motor. Fast, cheap, and familiar. There was a problem. The Sportster engine was 900 cubic centimeters, too big. So the engineers reduced the bore and stroke, shrinking it down to the 750 cubic centimeters the rules demanded. From a street bike engine, a racer was being born. They named it the XR750, and it debuted in 1970. But in the rush, they kept the Sportster's cast iron cylinder heads and barrels. Iron is heavy, and it traps heat. That decision would haunt them immediately. On track, the iron XR750 was a heartbreak. In cool weather, over short races, it could be competitive. But when the temperature rose or the race ran long, the iron engine overheated and lost power. It simply couldn't cope. It was unreliable, it broke, and against the British twins, it often lost. For a company whose identity was built on racing success, the iron XR750 was a genuine embarrassment. Harley's dominance looked finished. The 1970 and 71 seasons were rough. The most feared name in American dirt track was suddenly vulnerable. Something had to change, and change fast, or Harley would lose the sport it had ruled for a generation. Behind the scenes, the team studied every failure. Independent racers helped test ideas at county fairgrounds, feeding knowledge back to the factory. They knew exactly what the problem was. Now, they had to fix it. In 1972, they did. The fix was the key to everything. Replace the heavy cast iron heads and barrels with aluminum alloy. Lighter, better at shedding heat, better breathing. One change and the whole bike was transformed. The alloy engine ran cooler, weighed less, and made more power. The engineers also revised the bore and stroke, freeing the motor to rev harder. the problem child of 1970 had become a genuine world beater. This 1972 Alloy XR750 is the machine most people picture when they think of flat track. And remarkably, the bikes racing decades later would still be fundamentally the same design. They got it right the second time. The numbers tell the story. A 748 cubic centimeters, air-cooled, 45-degree V-twin. In race trim, it produced around 80 to 90 horsepower, later even more. Fed by twin carburetors, revving toward 8,000 revolutions per minute and beyond. The chassis matched the engine. A light, steel, twin-loop frame, derived from the Sportster but slimmed down dramatically. The whole bike weighed under 300 pounds. Compact, balanced, and beautifully agile. And it was purpose-built for one job. No front brake, flat trackers don't use them. No lights, no compromises. Just an engine, a frame, two wheels, and a rider brave enough to slide it sideways through the corners. To understand why it became a legend, you have to understand flat track. Riders race around a dirt oval, turning only left, with no front brake, sliding the bike sideways at up to 120 miles per hour. It's raw, spectacular, and deeply American. Elbow to elbow, throttle pinned, machines drifting through the dirt. And for this brutal, beautiful sport, the Alloy XR750 was the perfect instrument. It simply belonged there. The results came immediately. In 1972, its first year in Alloy form, Mark Brailsford rode the XR750 to the AMA Grand National Championship. The comeback was complete, and it was only the beginning of an incredible era. What followed was a 20-year era of dominance, defined by that unmistakable black, white, and orange livery. Massive crowds packed the ovals to watch these stripped-down machines go hell for leather through the dirt. New heroes emerged. Chief among them, the phenomenal Jay Springsteen, a young rider whose fearless, spectacular style on the XR750 made him a superstar of the sport in the mid-1970s. Springsteen won 3 straight Grand National titles. He and the XR750 became inseparable in the public mind. The perfect union of a daring rider and a machine that let him ride right at the edge. The XR750 wasn't unbeatable. A young Kenny Roberts on a Yamaha snatched 2 titles in the mid-70s, but even fierce rivals couldn't dislodge the Harley for long. The XR always came roaring back. Then came the greatest partnership of all, Scott Parker. On the XR750, Parker won an astonishing 9 Grand National Championships, the most in the sport's history. His name and the XR750 are forever linked. Parker racked up 94 main event wins, nearly all on the XR750. Think about that dominance. One rider, one machine, rewriting the record books. It cemented the XR750 as the greatest flat tracker ever built. And there were more. Chris Carr, Ricky Graham, Gary Scott, Randy Goss, a whole dynasty of champions built their careers on the XR750. Together, the legends of this bike run into the double digits in the Hall of Fame. The final tally is almost unbelievable. Across the decades, the XR750 won around 28 Grand National Championships. Some counts say more. No other motorcycle in American racing history comes close. And it didn't win for a season or a few years. The XR750 remained competitive from 1972 into the 21st century, winning races for nearly 40 years. That's a lifespan almost no race bike will ever match. Rivals threw everything at it. In the 1980s, Honda spent a fortune building the RS750, reportedly dissecting an XR engine, copying its best features, and adding twin camshafts. That's how good the XR750 was. Honda's effort worked, briefly, taking titles in the mid-80s, but even then, the XR750 fought back. A basic 1972 design, holding off the might of Honda's engineering budget. That tells you how right the original was. But the XR750's fame spread far beyond the racetrack, because one man made it the most famous motorcycle in America, not by racing it, but by jumping it. That man was Evel Knievel. In the early 1970s, Knievel switched to the XR750 for his televised stunt jumps. Its lightweight and perfect balance made it ideal for launching over cars, trucks, and buses in front of millions of viewers. On the XR750, Knievel made some of his most famous leaps. His longest successful jump, around 133 feet, was on an XR750. The bike became as iconic as the daredevil himself. One of Knievel's XR750s, the bike he used to jump 14 buses in 1975, is now in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., a racing motorcycle enshrined as a genuine piece of American cultural history. The XR750 and its riders even reached the big screen, featuring in the famous motorcycle documentary On Any Sunday. For a generation of Americans, this bike was the face of two-wheeled racing. Harley also built variants. A road racing version, the XRTT, took the fight to the pavement. In the hands of the great Cal Rayborn, it even beat European multi-cylinder machines. The engine was that versatile. Rayborn's giant-killing runs on the XR-based road racer stunned the racing world. A pushrod American V-twin, humbling the sophisticated multi-cylinder machines of Europe. The XR750 could win almost anywhere. One legendary XR even rose from the ashes. A crashed, burnt championship bike was rebuilt into a bigger racer, nicknamed Lucifer's Hammer, which went on to dominate the Battle of the Twins. The XR just refused to die. And here's something surprising. Despite its fame, the XR750 was rare. Only around 530 factory bikes were ever built. It was never a street bike. It was a pure, thoroughbred racing machine. That rarity, combined with its legendary status, makes an original XR750 hugely valuable today. Real ones come with deep provenance: the riders, the tuners, the races. Each is a piece of living American history. Think about the irony at the heart of this story. The XR750 was born from a rule change designed to beat Harley. It started life as a failure, and it became the most successful race bike America ever produced. The British rule change that was meant to end Harley's reign instead forced them to build something far greater than the KR ever was. Adversity created a legend. That's the beautiful paradox of the XR750. It's a story of failure and redemption. The Iron XR750 of 1970 could have been the end of Harley racing. Instead, the lessons from that failure led directly to the alloy triumph of 1972. They learned and they conquered. For millions of Americans, the words flat track summon one image: an orange and black XR750, sideways in the dirt, throttle wide open. This one machine became the very definition of the sport. Springsteen, Parker, Carr, Brailsford, Rayborn, an entire generation of American racing greats made their names on this machine. The XR750 didn't just win races, it built legends and careers and heroes. Even its silhouette is iconic. That lean tank, that exposed V-twin, that stripped-back stance. Instantly recognizable. A shape that says speed, danger, and pure American racing all at once. Its influence never faded. The XR750's DNA runs through Harley's later machines, and the flat track formula it perfected still shapes American racing today. Few motorcycles have cast such a long shadow. In 2020, Harley celebrated the XR750's 50th anniversary, dressing its modern race team in that historic Jetfire orange. 50 years on, the bike was still beloved, still legendary, still winning hearts. What made it so enduring? Simplicity, done perfectly. A basic, tough, air-cooled V-twin that was light, powerful enough, and easy for race shops to tune and rebuild. It did one job, better than anything else, for decades. Every part served a purpose. Nothing was wasted. In a sport where thousandths of a second decide championships, that focused, no-nonsense engineering was exactly what winning demanded. Function, raised to an art form. The XR750 is more than a motorcycle. It's a symbol of American grit, of turning a setback into a triumph, of a company that refused to lose the sport it loved. It's Harley Davidson's racing soul in metal. Ask any American racing fan to name the greatest racing motorcycle their country ever produced, and one answer comes back again and again: the XR750. Not for a single victory, but for decades of them. Most race bikes are obsolete within a few years. The XR750 stayed at the front for the better part of 4 decades. That isn't just success, that's a level of dominance almost unheard of in all of motorsport. And never forget what riding it took. No front brake. Sliding sideways at over 100 miles per hour, inches from rivals, on loose dirt. The XR750 demanded absolute bravery, and it rewarded those who had it. From the dirt ovals to Evel Knievel's ramps to the Smithsonian itself, the XR750 crossed from sport into legend. Few machines are so loved by hardcore racers and the general public alike. This one earned both. It defined an entire sport. It saved a company's racing pride. It carried a daredevil into history. And it beat everything the world could throw at it for nearly 40 years. That's the record of the XR750. And it all began with a desperate, flawed, overheating iron engine that nearly failed completely. Sometimes the greatest legends don't start with triumph. They start with a problem and the refusal to give up. Harley took that failure, learned from it, and built something close to perfect. The 1972 alloy XR750 was so right that changing it, for decades, barely seemed necessary. They found the answer, and they kept it. That's the mark of true greatness in engineering. Not complexity, but rightness. A design so well judged that it outlives its rivals, its era, and even the men who created it. The XR750 was exactly that. The Harley Davidson XR750 stands as America's greatest racing motorcycle, not because it was the most advanced or the most powerful, but because it won, and won, and won, longer than anything else ever has. A rushed answer to a rule change, a failure reborn as a champion, a racer, a stunt bike, a cultural icon. 28 titles, nearly 40 years of winning, all in one lean, howling American V-twin. That's the story of the XR750. Born from desperation, forged through failure, and driven to greatness by the bravest riders in America. The most successful racing motorcycle the country has ever produced, and perhaps ever will.